Hi, I'm Matt Sturgeon, Superintendent of Teutopolis Schools. In our first Clearview video, we introduced the website and explained how it was organized. In this second video, I'd like to spend a little more time with one of the more important areas of the site, the document library. The document library includes many of the same reports, presentations, and working documents that have informed the Board of Education during their ongoing facility conversations. The purpose of this video is not to rely on every document on the site. Instead, I want to highlight several key resources and explain how each document might better inform our families, our staff, and our community members. And more importantly, how these documents continue to impact board work. As we begin, it's important to repeat something that we've emphasized throughout the process. To date, no final project scope has been approved by the board. These documents are posted to inform the public, support review, and invite continued questions and ongoing feedback. Let's start here on the home page of the website by clicking the Facilities A Clear View button. Now on the Clear View page, we can access the document library by using the 3-bar navigation tab in the top right-hand corner. Once you see the Navigate button, we will click Document Library. From this portion of the page, we can scroll down and see that there are several file folders with various documents. The first document we want to review tonight is located under the folder of Facility Assessments and Planning Documents. It's the District Building Assessment and Prioritization document. The District Facility Assessment is a document that provides a color-coded, more digestible summary of the district's 2024 combined health, life, safety work. It has been helpful to the board because it organizes facility conditions by building, and it distinguishes between immediate needs, critical needs, functional items, and other long-term considerations. For Teutopolis Grade School, this assessment identifies several areas that have continued to shape the renovation discussion. These areas include plumbing and restroom conditions, accessibility, classroom and support space use, aging finishes, kitchen and cafeteria needs, drainage, and other long-term building systems. It's important to understand that this assessment is not simply a list of deficiencies, as it also identifies areas that remain functional and/or are in otherwise good condition. That balanced view helps the Board of Education to consider priorities responsibly and to avoid treating every item as if it were of the same level of concern. As we look at the document for the grade school, there are several examples and identified into subcategories. For example, the exterior building envelope, interior finishes, space utilization. The next page goes on to mechanical systems and electrical systems, as well as plumbing and restrooms. You can see that the color-coded document really provides a nice opportunity for a quick visual review, as well as a short description of areas that are in both good condition and others that might be more immediate and in need of attention. Another helpful resource in the document library is the Facility Needs and Completed Items document. Again, from the document library, under the subfolder of Facility Assessments and Planning, we're looking for Facility Needs and Completed Items. This is an internal working document used by administrators and directors, and it's shared with the Board of Education on a quarterly basis. It tracks both remaining facility needs and wants, as well as projects that have already been completed across the district. That context is important. This conversation is not beginning because the district has ignored its buildings. It is continuing because responsible facility planning requires us to keep addressing immediate needs and also looking ahead to longer, long-term questions. The completed list within the document varies in size and scope. Some of the items are more routine. Others involved safety upgrades and equipment replacements, building improvements, and larger capital projects. Taken together, this document reflects the ongoing efforts to provide a safe, functional environment for students and for staff. At the same time, completed projects do not eliminate the need for future study or work. The stronger and more accurate message is that the district has continued to maintain and improve its facilities while also evaluating whether or not long-term solution is needed at the grade school, especially in light of a growing community and a growing enrollment. The next set of documents includes the grade school renovation concepts. often referred to as options A, B, and C. This should be one of the most important sections for the community members to review. These are planning concepts developed for discussion and comparison. They are not construction-ready plans, and they do not represent any sort of final recommendation. The board, of course, may modify, combine, narrow, or decline any and all of the concepts as the conversation continues to unfold. When viewing the options, I encourage you to compare them in the same way that the board has, asking yourselves questions. What areas would be renovated or added? What identified needs would the option address? What remains unchanged or outside of the scope of the work? What's the approximate cost? What advantages or limitations might there be for this option? And why would the board continue to study this as a viable option? I'll walk through each option briefly, but I'd encourage anyone interested in the details to open the documents and review the full plans and notes for yourself. The grade school option documents are accessible through the document library by scrolling down to the second subfolder, Grade School Options and Visuals. Let's first look at option A. You'll note that these documents are created and provided to the Board of Education by the Upchurch Group, the district's architectural and engineering firm. Additionally, in the top right-hand corner, you can see a color-coded key that helps individuals to better understand the individual locations identified within the building. This option primarily addresses spaces needing attention as determined through the district building assessment and prioritization document previously reviewed. It does address things like restrooms, ADA accessibility, including elevators, classroom space, safety, and building systems, namely plumbing, electrical, and water. I'll briefly note that there are some areas that would not be addressed and would remain largely unchanged. For example, option A maintains the existing footprint of the structure with no additional expansions and no renovations outside of the existing walls. The advantage of option A is that it would provide one possible scope for addressing needs identified while helping the board to understand the cost and project impact. Its limitations are because of its narrowed scope. There are some needs that would remain outside of the ultimate scope of work. The board has continued to study this $10 million option A because it provides a point of comparison against broader renovation concepts. Back within the document library, let's now select option B. Same color-coded key, similar building layout, but there are some modifications within this option. Option B includes all of the previously identified options that were discussed within option A, but it also relocates common areas to the center section of the building. If you look at this northern section or main floor section of the facility, it's currently used as educational classrooms. In this option B, the cafeteria and kitchen and library are relocated to the center section of the building. Classrooms that are currently located in this section are moved to the west end of the basement. That means that classrooms, the blue boxes, would exist on both the upper and lower sections of both the east and the west portions of the building. And common or shared spaces used daily by all students would be centrally located. The advantage of option B is that it would allow for the board and community to consider a different balance between scope and cost. The number of identified areas of need would be increased, but there would still be potentially some areas that would not yet be addressed. The board continues to study option B, an estimated $12 million project, and compares it to the scopes of work and costs in both option A. Option C is also accessible within the document library. Option C includes all of the same scope of work identified within options A and B and further expands the gymnasium and auditorium space. Like option A, this facility would include restroom renovation, classroom renovation, addition of elevators and ADA accessibility. It also includes option B's relocation of the cafeteria and library to the center section of the building. And it now expands off the gymnasium east and west. The expansion east and west off the gymnasium allows for the existing restrooms to be captured and the auditorium and stage space to be expanded. This would relocate restrooms to the west in the existing office, pushing the office out towards the front of the gymnasium elevation. This also would allow for the creation of 2 additional classrooms here to the east that we currently have identified as preschool classrooms, making it more convenient for early childhood and preschool students to access our facility. Admittedly, option C comes at a cost. It does expand the existing protocol and scope of work, but it does so at an estimated $15 million price tag. The board continues to study option C because it helps to frame the full range of possibilities being discussed. But the board must also consider affordability, timing, taxpayer impact, and the future generations of wooden shoes. Another resource available through the document library is the renovation renderings presentation. It too is accessible under the grade school options and visuals. It's entitled TGS Renovation Renderings. The renderings are visual concepts. The purpose is to help families and community members picture how renovated spaces could look if the board moves forward with one of their identified projects. Depending on the slide or the image, the renderings may show possible classrooms, restrooms, or shared spaces like the cafeteria or the auditorium. It's important to be clear about what renderings are and what they are not. They do not represent a final selection of materials, colors, furnishings, or design details. They are not a final approved plan. Their purpose, rather, is to help the public visualize the possibilities and to better understand the types of spaces currently being discussed by the Board of Education. Before we close, I want to return to the importance of community feedback. As the board moves further into the public impact portion of this discussion, the district is expanding opportunities for residents and families to ask questions, share concerns, and identify information that may be needed for further clarification. Community members, of course, may contact me directly at the unit office. You may email the Board of Education, attend an upcoming Clearview community conversation, or submit a message through the community engagement section of this Clearview website. The purpose of these opportunities is not to advocate for a particular outcome. Rather, it's to answer questions factually, to hear community priorities, and to make sure the board has access to feedback as it considers possible next steps. We continue to encourage families and staff and community members to explore the materials here at the Clearview website, to ask questions, and to remain engaged. Thank you for taking the time to review our document library and for staying informed about these important discussions. Thank you, and go Shoes.